I'm excited to share with you this cute little gnome. Right now he's all dressed up for fall, but you can easily switch out his little pin and switch him over to Christmas. So let me show you how to make this little gnome. We are going to start this project out by painting the gnome's nose. So we're going to take some light gray paint and we're going to add a little bit of water to it and mix it up. This way when you apply the paint to the nose, it's more like a stain and you can still see the wood grain through it. So take your foam brush, mix it up, and then use your foam brush to apply it to the wooden nose, and then you can use a paper towel and dry it off a little bit. Next we're going to switch to trimming the gnome's beard. So take your fur sheet, flip it over to the back side, cut across about 4 inches from the bottom, making sure the fur is going in the correct direction. Once you get to the middle, then you can curve up a little bit, and then you'll flip it over so you can do the opposite side and go from a point in the bottom and curve up to the left side of the gnome fur. When you're cutting through the fabric, make sure to just cut through that back layer. You don't want to cut through all of the fur. When you cut only through the bottom layer, it leaves all of that extra fur showing. Then we are ready to make the gnome's hat. So you'll take your 1/3 yard of fabric, you'll lay it over the top of the gnome, and we are going to be folding the gnome hat up to create a brim and securing it with hot glue. So you'll apply a thin layer of hot glue along the bottom edge. You'll roll it up just a little bit. This is just to hide all of that raw edge. And then you'll apply glue again and roll it up more, this time leaving about 1 1/4 inches, and that's going to be the brim of the hat. Then you'll turn your fabric over to the other side and you'll create the other side's brim of the hat. And to do this, you'll use the same process as before. Once you have both of the brims of the hats created, you are going to put them right sides together, which basically just means they're going to face each other and touch on the inside. And then we are going to create a seam up the side using our hot glue. So you'll lift up the edge of the fabric, apply a little bit of hot glue, and then press it back together. And you'll do this along both sides, and once you get to the top, you are going to cut the opening of the top. Now it's time to flip it inside out so the brim of the hat is on the outside. You'll make it lay flat so you can visualize the hat, and then you'll put it onto your board so you can determine how tall you want the hat to be. I laid everything out on my board just to see what it was going to look like. Then I grabbed my 12-inch dowel and figured out where that would be. This is going to be placed on top of your board, and it is going to help hold the hat up so it doesn't all flop down. And then we'll grab a straight edge and a scissors, and we are going to cut the hat to a peak. So you'll cut up one side of the hat, get everything trimmed down, then you'll take the fabric off of the surface, you'll fold it in half so the other side is exactly the same as the one that you just cut. Once you've got the peak of the hat cut, you'll take the fabric and flip it inside out again so you can apply hot glue and seal those seams off. Before I used the hot glue, I did trim those little triangles that you created so that they were straight. Then I took my hot glue and I closed the top of the hat shut. Then you'll take the hat you made and flip it back right side out so the brim is showing on the outside instead of the inside. Next up, we're going to start attaching everything to the board. So the first thing we're going to attach is that wooden dowel. So apply a line of hot glue, put your dowel on it, and then make sure this is really secure as this is going to be supporting the entire hat. Then we're going to put everything back on the gnome to get everything in place, and we're going to start hot gluing everything down. The first thing we're going to hot glue down is the beard, so you're going to put a line of glue across the width of the surface to get the beard secured. The beard will fold over to each side, so you're also going to apply a dab of hot glue on the side of the surfaces to get everything held in place. Next we are going to attach our gnome's nose, so I applied a dab of hot glue to the board, and I also applied some glue onto the back of the nose. I tried to avoid the area where there was fur, just because it wouldn't hold as well. And then I placed the wood nose onto the surface. And then finally I had to put the hat back on the gnome, so I put him down, I secured the sides of the hat with hot glue, and And then I also put a little bit of hot glue around the nose once I got the fabric positioned the way I liked it. My hat was a little bit big, so I did flip the gnome over and I used some hot glue to secure the hat really well to the board, and then the extra fabric was in the back of the hat instead of showing in the front. I decided my gnome needed a little something extra, so I took my extra gnome fur, I cut a circle out of it as big as I could get it while still maintaining a circle, and then I created a little fur pom-pom out of this. To create the pom-pom, take a needle and thread, pull the needle through the back of the material, don't let the tail go too long, and then you'll take the two ends and tie a double knot. Once you've got the thread secured onto the fur material, then you're going to do a very loose stitch all the way around the edges. Once you've made your way all around the circle, you are going to pull the thread tight. Once it's all tightened in a ball, you'll take your thread, loop it through two sides of the material, and create a couple knots. Once you've got your knots all secured, then you can take your little pom-pom and fluff it and trim the ends so it looks like a nice little circle. To attach the pom-pom to the hat, you are going to take that little bit of thread that you still have in the needle, thread it through the tip of the gnome's hat, loop it around a couple times, and then double knot it. The last thing we're going to do is add a little bit of accessories. So we took some cute little wooden leaves, we're going to glue those together with hot glue, and then we are going to use hot glue to attach them to a pin backing. That way you can switch these out for whichever season's coming up next. You can find all the supplies to make this project at craftstrike.com and go over to the Projects tab.